Russia has launched one of its largest air assaults on Kyiv since the start of the war, killing at least 27 people and injuring dozens more in a massive drone and missile barrage. The attack prompted fresh condemnation from the United Nations, which called for an immediate ceasefire and warned that strikes on civilians and civilian infrastructure violate international law. Our Seung-jae reports.
Russian forces launched a massive drone and missile assault on Kyiv into the early hours of Thursday morning, killing at least 27 people and injuring 91 others in one of the largest attacks on the city since the war began. Kyiv Mayor Vitali Klitschko described the barrage as the most massive attack ever carried out against the capital in terms of the number of weapons used. Although previous Russian strikes have resulted in higher death tolls, Ukrainian officials said the latest assault stood out for both its scale and the wide area affected. Several neighborhoods were evacuated as emergency crews rushed to respond to fires and damaged buildings across the city. The attack came just hours after Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky warned that Russia appeared to be preparing a new offensive against the capital. Moscow defended the operation, saying Russian forces targeted military production facilities in retaliation for what it described as Ukrainian attacks on Russian civilian infrastructure. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia would continue increasing pressure on what he called the Kyiv regime in order to achieve its military objectives. Ukraine rejected those claims, accusing Russia of deliberately targeting civilian areas and arguing there could be no comparison between the actions of an invading force and a country defending itself. The attack also drew condemnation from the United Nations. UN spokesman Staffan Dujarric said Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned these strikes and reiterated that attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure violate international humanitarian law.
Turning to Ukraine, the Secretary General strongly condemns the overnight missile and drone attacks by the armed forces of the Russian Federation on the capital city, Kyiv, and other Ukrainian cities. Any attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure, wherever they occur, are a clear violation of international humanitarian law and must stop immediately.
The spokesperson added that the UN chief called for an urgent de-escalation of the conflict and appealed for a full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire between the two sides. Seung-jae, ArirangNews.